गतकक्ष्यायां नव चतुर्नवति तमे श्लोके काञ्चित् समस्याम् अन्वभूवम् तस्य परिहारमद्य दास्यामि। अत्र कलङ्कः कस्तूरी रजनिकरबिम्बं जलमयं कलाभिः कर्पूरैः मरकतकरण्डं निविडितम्. So it says that there is an emerald cup of the Devi, the emerald cup, which is which has the moon itself as the water, Jalamayam, Rajanikara Bimbam. So the moonlight which is shining from both her face and the crescent moon on her head is filling the cup. And then the Kalanka of the Chandra. So if you look at the Chandra, we find certain dark spots on the moon, right? Which is why the name Shashi comes. Because if you look at the moon carefully on, let's say, on a full moon day, we find such patches on the moon, some craters of the moon, which looks like a rabbit, which is called Shashaka in Sanskritam. So it had the name Shashin, that is that which has the Shashaka in it. It became to be known as Shashin or Shashi. So also called as Kaladhara. So the spots of the moon themselves are the uh, strokes of kasturi which have fallen into the cup. The moon itself becomes the water because we know from astrology that moon is a watery planet, whereas sun is a fiery planet. Today I don't have the pen tab, so please excuse my handwriting. Uh, whereas sun is the planet of fire, which makes sense, right? It's pretty evident. So the Rajanikara, which is the moon, because he brings night to us. Rajani is night, Ratrikara. Rajanikara, Bimbam, Jalamayam, Kalabhihi, Karpuraihi, and the phases of the moon, which are called as Kalas, themselves become pieces, shards of Karpura, which gets mixed into the cup. So some shards even today, right, if we buy Karpura, we find many of them in pellets like this, Karpura, camphor pellets. So these become the camphor which is mixed into the emerald cup to make a good tasting wine out of all these substances, which brings intoxication to the Devi. And ataha tvat bhogena pratidina vidam rikta kuharam, because you keep consuming, O Devi, from this every day. Vidhi, Brahma himself again and again has to immediately fill your cup with this wine. So, what the underlying meaning of this verse is that uh, Devi consumes from our mind. So, all associations with the moon must be made with the mind. So, the mind of ours has its flaws, which are called the kalanka. So these flaws are actually good because it makes a person human. It makes a person authentic. So those are the kasturi. Though kasturi is black in color, and we had discussed, and Shantaji also had shared with us her experience of it. It's quite bitter. It's quite uh, it's okay, but it still adds some fragrance and authenticity to the cup of mind. And then Rajanikara, which is the moon, represents the mind, and it is full of jala. And we know from analogy that jala is used to refer to emotions. So the mind is full of emotions. The mind is full of emotions and it is filling this cup of mind. Kalabhihi karpuraihi. And then the mind has its own merits, correct? So it has flaws, which are the kalanka. Then the kala are the merits. It literally means the art or craft. So the merits of the mind become the karpura, which goes into the cup and it gets filled. The mind gets filled with it. And Devi, which is the Atma, which is the soul of our being, she consumes, which is the Kundalini, she consumes the mind of the Bhakta. She completely dissolves, she empties the mind of the Bhakta by drinking all of it into herself. Meaning, all emotions, all flaws and merits of the personality are completely dedicated and devoted to the Atma, to the higher goal. And hence, Vidhi, which represents nature, Brahma, who represents creation, who represents the law of nature, because it abhors all vacuums. So once you clear this cup, the emerald cup of all of this, it will become empty. So at that very moment, Vidhi, that is Brahma, that is nature, refills it again and again with all of this. Meaning, it's actually a commentary on how, even for a yogi, a bhakta, or a jnani, or a yogini, or a jnanini, or a bhakta, who at moments have surrendered their mind completely to the higher goal and dissolved their mind, still the nature by rule of Brahma, they it causes the mind to get refilled back with such emotions, such flaws and merits, and therefore also with karma. Therefore, binds it to Vidhi. That is why the Puranas say Vidhi is not worshipped. Of course, there are many other stories for why he is not worshipped. But Vidhi ultimately represents destiny, ultimately represents nature, the creator of nature, right? And we always demonize or we villainize nature. We call it samsara, which is bhava sagara. We want to get away from this. Hence, if we start worshipping the very person or entity which created such a mess, it makes no sense. So, for that very reason, Brahma, that is the Prajapati, keeps refilling back the mind with the same past emotions, the same projections of the future, adding it some seasoning of the flaws and merits, some advantages and disadvantages, the goods and the downsides of the mind, of character, and keeps the mind engaged. This is one of the interpretations I was able to find. Do you guys agree, or you do you see another take on this shloka? As to I take your silence to mean you guys are on board. Okay, correct. धन्यवाद. पुरारातेरन्तः पुरमसि ततस्त्वच्चरणयोः सपर्यामर्यादा तरलकरणायामसुलभा तथा ह्येते नीताः शतमखमुखाः सिद्धिमतुलाम् तव द्वारोपान्तस्थितिभिरणिमाद्याभिरमराः पुरारातेरन्तः पुरमसि ततस्त्वच्चरणयोः सपर्यामर्यादा तरलकरणानाम् असुलभा तथा ह्येते नीताः शतमखमुखाः सिद्धिमतुलाम् तव द्वारोपान्तस्थितिभिरणिमाद्याभिरमराः पुरारातेः अन्तःपुरमसि ततः therefore त्वत् चरणयोः सपर्या मर्यादा तरलकरणानाम् असुलभा भवति तथा हि अतएव एते शतमखमुखाः सिद्धिम् अतुलाम् नीताः तव द्वार उपान्तस्थितिभिः अणिमादि अणिमादि आदिभिः अणिमाद्या अणिमाद्याभिः स्थितिभिरणिमाद्याभि अणिमादि आदिभिः अमराः. Let's break this down. So this is a verse which is commenting on the importance to go beyond mystical siddhis, which may come one's way during the course of the sadhana. Pura rate he antah puramasi. He Devi, tvam pura rate he antah puramasi. You are the antahpura. You are like the inner apartment, the private room of Purarati. Who is Purarati? Pura Arati. Arati is correct. Exactly. That is exactly the meaning of Arati. Arati also means Ari. Ari is actually a shortened form of Arati. So, Purari. Who is Purari? The enemy of the Pura. We know this, right? We have seen this trope many times. This is the Tripura Samharaka. Who is the Tripura Samharaka? It is Shiva. Yeah, because if you remember the story, he used because when the demons of the Tripura, the three cities were wreaking havoc on the world, and the three cities were never in alignment. They had a boon that only when the three cities, the golden, the silver, and the bronze, ever came for a fraction of a second aligned, only then would their death be possible. So Shiva waited patiently for the alignment of these three cities, floating cities. So until that happened, the Rakshasas had the time of their lives. They had a gala life, and they were torturing, and they were very evil. So Shiva made it so happen because he is Kala. He fast forwarded the time to make sure such an alignment happens quickly enough upon the behest of the Devas, and he within that very one small, you could say, a pico moment, a picoseconds time when it actually did align completely well, 90 degrees. That is when he immediately shot the arrow and nuked down the three cities. This is the story from the Shiva Purana. That's why he is called as the Purari or Purarati. Tasya Antahpuramasi means you are the home that Shiva always comes to. You bring that confidence, that homeliness. And we have seen this even in yesterday's class by Shantaji, who discussed very well that the meaning of a Grihini, the family is run by the Grihini. And Grihini Grihamuchyate, the Subhashita says. So you are the Antahpura, you are the house to which Shiva comes back to rest, to rejuvenate. Tataha Tat Charanayoho. So such is your stature, O Devi, that to do the puja of your charana, to do the puja of your feet, Saparya means to do a puja or Maryada. Even to do Saparya or Maryada, even to just respect and admire from a distance, or to love and admire your feet from up close. Asulabha, it is not easy. For whom? Tarala Karananam. For people whose Antah is Tarala. Tarala means which is very ephemeral, which is very transitory, which is the opposite of Sthita. So, of those who are Asthita Prajnas, they can really not uh, come to the worship of your feet. Thereby meaning we need some sense of stability within ourselves, which is a guna of Shiva, which is a guna of the Shiva Tattva. Be it outwardly make enough arrangements to make our life stable, or make enough arrangements within our mind and the body to make the body and mind stable, and so on. So it should be atarala. It should not be wavering. So if one can sit down for 2-3 hours at a stretch where the body doesn't complain, the mind doesn't complain, and people around us or things around us also do not complain, that would be a good starting point for qualifying a person to be atarala karana. So for such a person alone, is it easy to do the worship of your feet? Thereby meaning to do any meditation at all, such rapt attention and focus is required after having gone through some outwardly work to make ourselves stable. Tatha hi ete, but still, even after starting to worship your feet, such as the great gods themselves, Shatamakha Mukha. Shatamakha is the name for Indra because he performed 100 sacrifices. Makha means a yajna. Shatamakha is one who performs 100 Ashwamedha yajnas, get the padavi of Indra. So the post itself is called Shatamakha, and the person who adorns that post is also called Indra. Shatamakha Mukhaha means others and others. Shatamakha Mukhaha, other gods such as Indra and others themselves, when they came to worship your feet, Atulam Siddhim, when they came to worship your feet, which is Siddhi, which is the success, which is Atulam, which is incomparable, which is the greatest success possible. Tava, now because they came to your feet, they came to worship your feet. And who are you? You are like the Antahpura, you are the house, the inner room, the inner sanctuary of Shiva, which is very well guarded. And who are the guards women? The guards women to your room are, because you are yourself the room, there are people around this room guarding you because this room is very private, reserved for only you and Shiva. Meaning, this is the great rahasya of Purusha and Prakriti. So going and seeing this union is really not uh, a simple feat. And there are eight such guardians. Who are these eight guardians? Animadi Ashtasiddhayaha. There are the Anima, Garima, Laghima, Mahima, Prakamyam, Ishitvam, Vashitvam, and one other. So there are Ashtasiddhis. They represents the personification of the forces of nature which can be bent and perform exceptionally for the sadhaka or the sadhika. Meaning, see, of course, we know from physics that you can't really shrink your size beyond a certain limit, or you can't expand beyond a certain limit, and so on. But these eight women, these eight celestial beings represent those forces of nature which can make an exception for us if we have achieved their, which if we have qualified to be with them. These are again personifications. They come to us as mystical forces for people who start doing dhyana. Tava dwara upanta. So there is the dwara to your room, and there is the upanta. Upanta is the threshold. Uh, what is it called in English? I'm sorry, in Kannada, it's mm, Hosilu. Correct, Hosilu. So at the Hosilu, at the threshold, are the eight siddhis, Adimadi, Ashta siddhis, and they are standing there. What happens is Indra and the others, they come to worship you, but because they are themselves Tarala Karana, just imagine, forget us being Tarala Karana. Indra and the other gods themselves are Tarana Karana. Tarala Karana is what he is remarking and saying. Even they have 1 or 2% of their minds, bodies, and such, which are still Tarala, which are still vacillating, because of which they are stopped from entering into the cave of Shiva and Shakti, into the place, the holiest, most sacred place of the universe, where Prakriti and Purusha, where God and the universe come together. So this is like a secret portal. Because they are so, these eight guardians look and assess these people and say, "Arre, arre, arre, no, 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 not entry not allowed for you people. You still don't qualify. So instead, since you have made it so far, I will myself accompany and escort you out from here," is what they say. And Anima, Garima, etc., they escort these people out. So Tavadvara Upantasthat Nitaha, they are taken away, they are carried away from your Siddhi. So they don't really reach your complete Siddhi, is what Shankaracharya says. So overall, it means a person, a yogini, a yogi, who may start with dhyana and other such paths, may come to realize, perhaps by sheer luck or by the grace of powers of nature, such siddhis where they can heal a person, they can make the dead walk. We have heard such miracles happen in many saints' lives. and they can cure some incurable illness. They can be seen at two places at once. They can they can levitate in the air. They can make themselves small. They can transport and teleport things from one place to another and so on. So all this perhaps is true. I am quite myself skeptical, but let's still give the benefit of doubt and say these are possible, physically possible. And even though they may have these siddhis, they say the Tarala Karanas, if the heart is still wavering, it's still vacillating, they may not reach the final siddhi, which is good. I mean, it's still good that they have come at least to the threshold of Devi, but a couple of more steps are still remaining, is what he is judging. Kaschan abhipretimicchati. Hmm. Hmm. Very interesting, right? So you are comparing this analogy that there is the antapura, the room of privacy of person's life, and yeah, some friends can be allowed till the threshold, but they need not be qualified to enter completely in. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, very right. That's most well needed. Yes, setting strong boundaries is absolutely well needed. Yes. And this is most valued, this sort of connecting back to contemporary world, to our physical material world, and trying to see if this shloka applies is very relevant and a great job being done by Shantaji. Thank you for that. Shall we proceed, or is anybody else wishing to comment or remark on this? Just कलत्रं वैधात्रं कति कति भजन्ते न कवयः श्रियो देव्याः को वा न भवति पतिः कैरपि धनैः महादेवं हित्वा तव सति सतीनाम् अचरमे कुचाभ्यामासङ्गः कुरवकतरोरप्यसुलभः कलत्रं वैधात्रं कति कति भजन्ते न कवयः श्रियो देव्याः को वा न भवति पतिः कैरपि धनैः महादेवं हित्वा तव सति सतीनामचरमे कुचाभ्यामासङ्गः कुरवकतरोरप्यसुलभः हे Sati, because Parvati's other name is also Sati. Hey Sati, Kalatram Vaidhatram Kati Kati na bhajante kavayah. So, how many poets have not gotten to uh, be in the company of Vaidhatram Kalatram? That is the spouse of Vidhatri. Vidhatri is Brahma, the Prajapati Brahma. And Vaidhatram Kalatram means the spouse, the partner of Brahma, which is Saraswati. Kati Kati na bhajante. how many poets, because of their sheer prowess, have not been able to worship and please Kalatram Vaidhatram, the spouse of Brahma, that is Saraswati, meaning they are able to use their talents or ask for talents from Saraswati and therefore be in the constant company of knowledge, in the dominion of information, of disseminating culture and information and so on. So it's quite uh, not rare, is what he's saying. And similarly, Shriyo Devyaha Kova na bhavati patihi kairapi dhanaihi. And there are so many people in the world. He's asking a rhetorical question. How many people are not there in the world who, with immense amounts of dhana, of wealth, have not become the pati of Lakshmi? So here you shouldn't take it very literally. Here wealth is symbolized by Lakshmi. And to become the pati of Lakshmi means one who becomes the owner of abundant wealth. Of course. So there is a compounding effect. If you own some 1 lakh, making the next 1 lakh is very easy. And similarly, if you own a crore, it's much easier to make the next 1 crore. If you own 10 crores, again, even still easier to make the next 10 crores and so on. So there are people in the world who, so it's not rare to see somebody become the pati of Lakshmi in the world too. And similarly, it's not very rare to find scholars who become the pati of Saraswati. Again, please don't read this in a very vulgar way. Here, pati just means becomes close companions of those respective domains of interest. महादेवं हित्वा तव सतीनामचरमे कुचाभ्याम् आसङ्गः कुरवकतरोः अपि असुलभः. But while your two sisters, that is the Saraswati and Lakshmi personified, have gotten enough patis to be with, they have enough consorts and partners in the world to go with, companions to be with, and for them to spend merrily their time with. Only you are the Satinam Acharama. You are the best amongst the Satis. Sati here means those who are Pativratas, those who are so devoted to their lovers that they won't even look up the face of a competitor or a rival to the Pati, right? So you are such a Stree that you are the most excellent, the peak of all sati. You took it to the extreme that you will not even let anybody else apart from Mahadeva, apart from Shiva, to hug, to even allow you someone to hug you with their breasts. In a sense, you won't even allow close companionship of not even hugging you, of not even embracing you for anybody except Mahadeva. And that is seen in the phrase when he says, Kuravaka taroho api asulabhaha. And it was so hard for even Mahadeva himself that we have seen this already, how he had a small uh, fit of jealousy with the Kuravakataru, that is the tree of Ashoka, which luckily, when she fell, when Devi tripped, she came and she hugged the Ashoka tree, which is also called the Kuravaka tree, by accident. And now that she would not even allow any her own pati or anybody else for that matter to hug her, Shiva got very jealous of the tree. That even by accident, at least, the tree got to embrace Devi. And so such is the case, when such is the case that even Mahadeva himself finds it difficult to and finds it immensely hard and gets a chance to hug you, you should therefore be the greatest of all the satis. Whereas the other two sisters of yours, they easily gets wooed away uh, by wooed away by either scholars or by dhanapatis, either by rich people or by great erudite scholars. Meaning, therefore, that Devi here represents power, right? Whereas Lakshmi represents wealth, Saraswati represents education and knowledge, Devi here represents power. It's not so easy to come by power uh, as it is to come by wealth or as it is to come by knowledge. So power, where this power means the inner spiritual awakening, It's very hard to come by. That even Mahadeva, that is a person, even if they imbue the tattva of Mahadeva, of being absolutely still and calm, asthita prajna, which is what is the depiction, the symbol of Mahadeva, still for such a person, it's very hard to get to a state of absolute power, of absolute dominion. This is my reading of it. Tell me if you have, if you agree, disagree, or have a different reading of it. So, of course, here the poet is not remarking or belittling Saraswati or Devi for that, I mean, Lakshmi for that matter. He is not using any slurs against them. He's only comparing. See, in all such Puranas, what happens is whenever there's a central deity in a particular plot, right, in a particular theme of the Purana, necessarily it takes the front seat, that this deity will take the front seat, whereas the others will take a naturally a back seat. So when it is the praise of Devi, of Lalita, which is Parvati in some sense, Lakshmi and Saraswati are supposedly taking a back seat just to bring out the contrast in them, right? Similarly, when there is a praise of the Lakshmi in the Kanakadhara Sutta, which is again penned by the same author, that is Shankaracharya, he is, of course, commenting how Girija, that is Parvati and Saraswati, are prostrating to Lakshmi and asking for some wealth for their husbands. Because Saraswati is poor because Brahma doesn't really get paid well. And Shiva doesn't even work. So Parvati doesn't get paid, I mean, get paid at all. So they are begging for some wealth from Lakshmi. This is such nice imageries are painted. So there is mutual respect amongst all, but depends on the context and contrast of the situation. Hmm. Exactly. Right. I really, yes, like this meaning. Right. To embrace our own selves, to embrace our own true identity is so hard, like you're rightly saying, Arya, that perhaps some may even toil hard and hustle through to make enough money or to grind themselves through to become very scholarly. But like you say, it's very hard to embrace ourselves for truly who we are and realize our own nature. If no more comments, let's move ahead. We're just in the last four, the final four climatic verses of this Grantha. I'm very pumped up. Let's go through these four. गिरामाहुर्देवीं द्रुहिणगृहिणीम् आगमविदो हरेः पत्नीं पद्मां हरसहचरीम् अद्रितनयाम् तुरीया कापि त्वं दुरधिगमनिस्सीममहिमा महामाया विश्वं भ्रमयसि परब्रह्ममहिषी गिरामाहुर्देवीं द्रुहिणगृहिणीम् आगमविदो हरेः पत्नीं पद्मां हरसहचरीम् अद्रितनयाम् तुरीया कापि त्वं दुरधिगमनिस्सीममहिमा महामाया विश्वं भ्रमयसि परब्रह्ममहिषी. This is one of the most scintillating verses because often quoted, one, and secondly, it talks directly of something which is more abstract than descriptions. It says, Gira Mahur Devim Druhina Grihinim Kechana Agama Vidaha. Some people who know the Agamas, the Puranas and the Vedas, etc., they say, oh, this Devi is Gira, means she is Saraswati. Gir in Sanskritam means Vak, speech or knowledge. So, Druhina Grihini, she is the Grihini, she is the wife, the spouse of Druhina. Druhina is Brahma. Prajapati Brahma. So some people say that this Devi appears to them as Saraswati, who is the consort of Druhina of Brahma, meaning she is the intelligence of creation. Brahma represents the creator, right? So she is the intelligence of creation, not just mere human intelligence, but also the intelligence of all creation, of all organisms, of the laws of the universe itself. And to some people, she appears as Hare Hai Patni. She is the Patni of Hari. Hari again represents the sustainer. And she is the Patni who is called Padma. She is Lakshmi. She is also called as Padma. And as a sustainer, and if you can look at a lotus, right? So the lotus is the representation of growth um, of a living thing. So she is the life force. She may appear to some people as the intelligence. She may appear to some people as Lakshmi, which is the life nourishing force. Harasahacharim Adritanayam. And to people and to other people, she may appear as the Hara Sahachari. She is the Sahachari, means she is again the consort of Hara, of the destroyer. As Adri Tanaya, as Parvati, she is the daughter Tanaya of Adri, of the mountains. Meaning she can be very cold, like like her husband, who is Shiva, who is ruthlessly going to destroy and actually is at every moment destroying some or the other thing in this universe. So she can be as cold as her husband herself, being the daughter of the snow-clad mountains. Uh, so she may, to some people, appear as the intelligence of creation. She may appear to some people as the nourishing energy, or to others as a cold, distant existence itself. But Turiya Kapitvam, I think you are some fourth person, you are some fourth entity. Turiya means Chaturtha, you are some fourth entity. And Dur Adhigama Nisima Mahima. Your Dur Adhigama. Adhigama means to Avagama. Avagachati means to understand. Adhigama also means the same. Dur Adhigama means you're very hard to understand, very difficult to understand what you are, what you exactly are. And Nisima Mahima, your glory, your grandeur is Nisima. It has no boundaries at all. Your vastness, your uh, epiphenomenology is infinite. Nisima Mahima, and you are Mahamaya. You are the great illusion. Vishwam Brahmayasi. You are somehow making this world revolve, rotate, and mm, you carrying it forth. Vishwam Brahmayasi. And you're also causing confusion in this world. You are the sole creator of all good, bad, evil, ugly, uh, and the entire cyclical nature of all pursuits. Brahmana means to go in circles or to go crazy. Brahmayasi. And who are you? You are Parabrahma Mahishi. Mahishi means the queen. You are the queen of Parabrahma. Meaning, so in the Advaita philosophy, there are a very similar concept is seen even in Sankhya. When we say there is the Purusha and the Prakriti, we call it Shiva and Shakti in uh, agamic terms. Shiva and Shakti, which are equivalent to the Parabrahma, that is the supreme silent, the supreme silence versus the dynamic motion. So this is the Parabrahma and this is the Parashakti, which is also called as Avidya or Maya. Very equivalent terms, at least as far as I know. So he is remarking and saying that you are some Maya, you are some magical phenomena. We really don't know what you are. But you are definitely the queen. You can only be the queen of the Parabrahma. You are equivalent to stature and nature of the supreme silence of the cosmic uh, source, destroyer, and the sustainer of all worlds. And you are very hard to know because your glory has no bounds. To describe something, it means there is a certain boundary. If you imagine this uh, heuristically, think of any object, right? The first thing we draw on paper is the outline. We sketch its outline first. Without an outline, you really can't know what painting this shape is going to take. And because she has no boundaries at all, Nisima Mahima, she has no boundaries. It's very hard to qualify her. So, whereas to some people, she may appear as intelligence, as life force, as the cold existence. You are some, you're definitely something beyond all these three, and you're much more. And you perhaps are the queen of the supreme entity and causing this world to go like a top. You've seen the tops, right? So it keeps rotating, spinning for a while, and then it just falls over. And then again, there's a certain key and energy driven into the system to make it spin again. One other very nice pun that he uses here is from the Upanishadic language, where they call the fourth state of being as the Turiya. So in the Mandukya Upanishad, there is an entire analysis of the three states of being, which are the waking, Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti. So the waking, dream, and sleep. So you could call them the alpha, beta, and the gamma waves of the brain. And okay, this is for another day. I already have a, a video on this on the YouTube channel, Samskritananthan. You can look it up. But to quickly give you a flavor, it starts analyzing how the three states of being, of our daily experience rather, unfold, right? So it says how in the waking state, the Indriyas, so it's doing a deep analysis, it's an objective analysis of what actually happens in the waking state. So it says in the waking state is when the Indriyas are pointing outward and it's looking at the world. There is something called as the world. Then it is the Indriyas and the Manas, which are looking out into the world, collecting information, processing it, and putting it back into the reservoir called Chitta. And the second, this is very simply oversimplified models, which I'm just saying. But of course, there's a greater detail in the Upanishad itself. You can look it up. Then there is the Swapna, also called as the dream world, where though we are taught or conditioned to believe that dreams are something really just a magical uh, anomaly of the brain, right? Which is just an aberration of the neural system. Maybe just happens for a while and then it is something like a hallucination. But if we actually pay attention and go very deep philosophically, we realize that we can't put our finger on a dream as much as we can't actually put a finger philosophically on even the waking state, right? So we'll talk about this a little later some other day. So that is what it says. And then it says, here in the Swapna state, the manas and the indriyas are all turned inward, where they are talking to themselves and they are discussing something like chai pe charcha, and they are segregating things out there. And then there is the third state where the shop closes for the day, which is after all the accounting errors have been fixed at the end of the day, when the company shuts down, the manas and the indriyas, they all go back to a state of pause, which is called as the sushupti, the sleep state, where nothing functions. This is like what we experience as the blankness, a blank canvas before us, which we hardly recollect enough about, but we still have a nice experience of the same, be it while in anesthesia, while in comas, or while every day going to a after a very long, tired day of work, when we sleep like a log, right? That is this experience which we describe as deep sleep. So these are the three states which is available to every single human being, perhaps to even other creatures, which are symbolized here, namely as the Saraswati, who is in the waking state, which is alive when the buddhi is active. Second, when as Lakshmi, as uh, a state of uh, dream world, dreaminess, of fantasies of another world altogether. And third is Adritanaya, just as a cold blankness of the Himalayas. That is the Gauri state of Sushupti. But here he's saying you actually, Devi, are not just these three. Some people say so, but you're actually the fourth. And that is how the link to the Upanishad is established when he calls it Turiya. And the fourth state, the so-called fourth state, the Upanishad describes to be uh, the the phenomena which is actually causing these three states to be experienced. So it says, Nantah prajnam na bahish prajnam no bhayatah prajnam na prajnana ghanam na prajnam na prajnam adrishyam avyavaharyam agrahyam alakshanam achintyam avyapadeshyam ekatma pratyayasaram. It can't be described, it can't be held, it can't be known, it can't be reached. But it is the Eka Atma Pratyayasaram. It is that one feeling of oneness, of unity, of the same experience, the continuity of experience of the experiencer. Ekatma Pratyayasaram, Prapancha Upashamam, that which is completely the silence of the world, the you could say the cosmic, as we call in cosmology, the cosmic wave background, right? There's some noise always in the universe. So this is that noise or the background noise which is always there in our lives, which is God, and which we usually call as God, which the religions call as God. Pratyasaram, prapancha upashamam, shantam, that which is the ultimate abode of peace. Shivam, which is Shiva itself, Advaitam, which is beyond two, which is not even, which admits no other entity, no other existence. Advaitam, Chaturtham Manyante. This is what is called as the fourth state of being. Saha Atma, and that is I. That is me, that is you, that is everybody here, and everybody who is not here. Saha Vijnayaha, and that must be known. So this is a very powerful uh, call, a trumpet call by the Upanishad, which is very well reflected in this verse too. And that is truly the one which is spinning the world on its head. Vishwam Brahmayasi. Let's wait for any comments. Feel free to engage with the audience here. This is truly fantastic. Yeah, it's a very nice uh, metaphor that you gave. Mhm. Wow. True. This is so fascinating. Absolutely fabulous. Correct. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, very much. She is the quiet background, I mean, back behind the scenes puppeteer. Yeah. Very plausible. Correct. Samyak. Let's continue. कदा काले मातः कथय कलितालक्तकरसम् पिबेयं विद्यार्थी तव चरणनिर्णेजनजलम् प्रकृत्या मूकानामपि च कविता कारणतया तव द्वारोपान्तस्तव कदा धत्ते वाणी मुखकमलताम्बूलरसताम् कदा काले मातः कथय कलितालक्तकरसम् पिबेयं विद्यार्थी तव चरणनिर्णे जनजलम् प्रकृत्या मूकानामपि च कविता कारणतया कदा धत्ते वाणी मुखकमलताम्बूलरसताम् हे मातः, O Amma, tell me, kada kale, at what time will Kathaya, tell me, Kalita alaktakarasam vidyarthi aham pibeyam tava charana nirne jana jalam. Tell me, O mother, I am a student. I desire vidya. I desire knowledge. Knowledge of not some secular subjects, but knowledge of myself. Adhyatma vidya vidyanam. Aham pibeyam. I want to drink what? The charana nirnejana jalam kalita alaktaka rasam. I wish to wash your feet. In here again, feet is again a metaphor for the Sahasrara chakra. I wish to reach such the pinnacle of spiritual endeavor and get to wash your feet there. And the jala which oozes out of that chakra, which is the amrita, which is alaktaka rasam. It's very red. It's red hued because of the henna that you have applied on your feet. So, uh, kalita means that which is mixed with a tinge of red. Such a rasa of amrita, when it flows from your feet, I shall drink it and therefore get vidya, self knowledge, because prakritya mukanam apicha kavita karanataya, because it has the capability to kavita karanataya. It can make a person who is muka, one who is a prakritya muka, one who is by birth, by nature itself muka, who's dumb, can be made to start writing poetry and literature. This is a reference to who? Anybody you know? Exactly, yes. Mukam karoti vachalam. Right. So if you remember the story of Kalidasa, right? a very popular character, a popular film also had come about him. So he was Muka. He was dumb by nature, by nurture and nature, but he was able to bring out the most fluid of poetries and literature because of the anugraha of Kali, of Devi. Kavita Karanataya and Kada Dhatte Vani Mukha Kamala Tambula Rasatam. So when will I, or rather this Charana Nirnayajana Jalam, uh, let me just break this down. So first of all, the first idea is clear that I am a Vidyarthi, and that is a seeker of knowledge of the self. Hence, I shall do some sadhana. Tell me when and for how long must I do this sadhana to be able to drink from such amrita of your feet. That's the first idea. Second idea is because your feet can turn a muka also into the greatest of poets. So will it not then bestow upon me uh, Vidya itself for the sarthakya of my jivana? And third idea that is put forth here is I, who can get the prowess of mastering kavya, of mastering poetry and the ability to speak well, a vagmita, such a state of mind will cause me to become the Tambula Rasa in the mouth, the holy mouth of Vani, that is of Saraswati. Thereby meaning all my compositions, all my kritis in the future, when I do get your blessing, because I'm myself Muka, he's actually being very modest and he says, I'm Muka, I actually don't know the right way of using the right words, and I'm not really eloquent. So I am seeking Vidya, the Atma Vidya. But as a byproduct of you giving your Charana Jala for me to drink, I will of course get Atma Vidya. But as a byproduct, I will also become the greatest of poets. And then my kritis will become pan, will become tambula that Saraswati herself chews upon and relishes it. So do you understand the poetic genius here? So he is saying, not only will I become the greatest poet, I'll be so great a poet that Saraswati, the goddess of learning and knowledge herself, will start using my kritis as charvana tambula. So when do you use a tambula? To relish, to sit back, to relax, right? So when Saraswati is putting this tambula, it means she is able to relish these kavyas and admire and enjoy such poetry because it is so pristine and so well put, so well created. So such is the state. Hmm. Hmm. Correct. As an arpana, absolutely correct. The gift of using words and playing with language that you have given me, I shall then use it to make exquisite poetry and literature, which will become tambula, which will I offer as tambula for you to relish it back, and as a means to please you, as to means to please Saraswati. So it's quite simple. Let's move ahead. सरस्वत्या लक्ष्म्या विधिहरिसपत्नो विहरते रतेः पातिव्रत्यं शिथिलयति रम्येण वपुषा चिरञ्जीवन्नेव क्षपितपशुपाशौ यतिकरः परानन्दाभिख्यं रसयति रसं त्वद्भजनवान्. So we all know that nobody does anything without benefit. Even a murkha will engage in action only for getting something out of it. So every kriti, therefore, necessarily at the end has a phalashruti. It tells what is the consequence, what is the result, what is the phala, the fruit of such an action uh, which is born. So, what is the fruit here? What is the service being done here? What is the work being done here? Bhajana. One who is doing your bhajana, meaning one who is making ends meet even in his or her own life, making all the necessary effort required to make oneself steady, as we saw earlier. Tarala Karana is a very bad situation to be in. Should therefore be a Tarala Karana, that is one who has studied their outer and inner life. And then one must do the Pada Sevana, that is, one must do some spiritual form of worship. Could be recitation, Kirtana, Bhajana, Dhyana, whatever appeals to one person. So, such a bhajana, such a spiritual work when it is being done, this should lead to some benefit. What is that benefit? Parananda abhikyam rasam rasayati. So the fruit of this labor is to get para ananda, to get great, immeasurable, unending, and unqualifiable, unquantifiable ananda. Para ananda abhikyam rasam. So such is the fruit or such is the rasayana which comes out of bhajana, tvat bhajana of one who does bhajana of you, O Devi. And what else? Uh, Kshapita Pashupasha Vyatikaraha. Vyatikara means impurities, dirts, or uh, alloyed, you could say alloyed intrusions into oneself. So Vyatikara, which is Pashupasha, the entanglement of animalism, of animalistic behavior, that is called the Pashupasha, that is those basal instincts which bind us and bring impurity to our character. Again, we have discussed this earlier that impurity here is not necessarily a bad thing or something as a sin, as the Victorian morality puts it, but it's something which is wasteful, which is not in alignment with our with a goal that we want to succeed in. So that which is an impediment or a waste of energy, time, resource, and effort is called vyatikara. So they will lose such wasteful activities, the kshapita, and chiram jivan eva. And as they continue to live, that is, as they continue to be played by life, as they continue to be charmed and disappointed by life for a very long time, chiram means for a very long time, when they still inhabit the body and the mind complex, and they still go through all the very numerous uh, roller coaster rides of life, still they will be able to relish Parananda Abhikyam Rasam Rasayati. They'll be tasting in themselves this Rasayana of Parananda. And what else? Saras, if this was not enough, a couple more benefits here mentions Saraswatyaha Lakshmiyaha Vidhihari Sapatnaha Viharate. So this person becomes the Sapatna, the competitor to Vidhi and Hari, meaning to Brahma and Vishnu, he becomes competitor, meaning uh, to woo. Viharana means here to woo Lakshmi and Saraswati. Again, not literal, but it means this person who is doing bhajana of you, O Devi, of him, of the true nature of himself or herself, will automatically become eligible to gain a great amount of wealth and knowledge. Saraswatya Lakshmiyaha Vidhihari Sapatnaha Viharate. So he becomes the competitor to Brahma and Hari because they become insecure now that their wives are soon going to go towards him or her. Ratehe pativratyam shithilayati ramyena vapusha. This person, this yogini or yogi, gets endowed with a very handsome, beautiful, curved at the right places, strong at the right places, hunky or curvy body, whatever the desire is. Ramyena vapusha, and because of which Rati, the goddess of love and lust, herself will lose her pathivritya. Shithilayati pathivratyam. Meaning, Rati is known to be the greatest of pativratas because again her husband is Kamadeva. And who else, how can she cheat on her husband if her husband itself is the embodiment of all beauty, of all kama and sex and desire? So Rati is therefore said to be automatically the greatest pativrata. But this person, because he will get a body even greater and more studlier and curvy than Kama, will eventually cause Rati to have thoughts of cheating on her husband. Meaning, therefore, that he will get all the love, lust, and sex that he needs or she needs in life. And Chiram Jivan Neva Kshapita Pashupasho Vyatikaraha. But untouched by all of this because they have now eschewed their inner tendencies. So, if you look at it carefully, the desire to learn or to acquire information is actually also the same manifestation of the desire to acquire, of to accumulate. It could be wealth, it could be information, it could be, uh, bodily pleasures. So, all these three, they will still be able to, they will be eligible to get more of it. But because their Pashupasha and their wasteful tendencies have been eschewed at Kshapita, they will still live on for long, but not really desiring any of it. And still they will be able to enjoy the Ananda which comes with one or more of these three offerings, which is uh, the food for intellect is through Saraswati, the food for the mind is through Lakshmi, and the food for the body is through Rati. So he or she will get enough food because of the blessings of Annapurna. Does this make sense? Did you appreciate? Uh, hmm, definitely. This is all food for thought. We should definitely relish and revisit these shlokas at our leisure. Any other person would like to comment? Hmm. 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 Wonderful. Well received. Correct. And the final shloka, which is a very modest closure, the closing of curtains on this entire Kriti, the Soundarya Lahari, the 100th shloka, the Shatatama shloka Yeshaha, where he is in line with what just Shantaji had earlier mentioned about Samarpana Buddhi, where he says, with the Kavita Kaushalya that you give me, I will use it to make poetry and give it back as Tambula to you. So, in the same lines, he is saying actually in a more rhetoric way that what can I really give back to you? Because everything is yours. And he gives a couple more examples and until he finishes it off. प्रदीपज्वालाभिर्दिवसकरनीराजनविधिः सुधासूतेश्चन्द्रोपलजललवैर्अर्घ्यरचना स्वकीयैरम्भोभिः सलिलनिधिसौहित्रोद्भूतैः त्वदीयाभिर्वाग्भिस्तव जननि वाचां स्तुतिरियम् प्रदीपज्वालाभिर्दिवसकरनीराजनविधिः सुधास्यूतेश्चन्द्रोपलजललवैर्घ्यरचना स्वकीयैरम्भोभिः सलिलनिधिसौहित्यकरणम् त्वदीयाभिर्वाग्भिस्तव जननि वाचां स्तुतिरियम् Hey Janani, O mother, O Amma, he's telling what me offering this stuti to you, iyam stutihi arpanam. If I offer this stuti to you, it is like somewhat like this that Pradeepa Jwala bhihi Divasakara Neerajana vidhi. It's as though I am doing Neerajana. I am doing this Mangalarati to the sun. Divasakara is the sun because he creates the day. Using what? Pradeepa Jwala bhihi. Let's take a torch. In today's time, it's an electric torch, right? The flashlight of my mobile. And I am doing Neerajana to the sun. The sun, who is the very source of light and heat. I don't have to use my Pradeepa Jwala. I don't have to use tube lights or torches to do Nirajana. When do you do Nirajana? We do Nirajana to a Murti because at least in the olden days, when the temples used to be really very darkly lit or ill lit, as the end of all puja, you would do the Nirajana to show the Murti to oneself and to others. But here, if I were to do the Nirajana to the sun, it makes no sense, right? But still, let's say I did such a vidhi. And then Sudha Sutehe, that is for Chandra, who is the Sudha Suti, means one uh, who is the whose daughter is Amrita itself. It is told that the sun creates Agni, whereas the moon, sorry, I must have misspoken. The sun creates Agni and the moon creates Amrita. So these are the two celestial bodies and their respective offsprings. So the sun created Agni. So the Agni is said to be the Napal, the son of Surya, whereas the daughter of Chandra is Amrita, Sudha. So Sudha Suti means the father of Sudha, which is the moon. When there is the moon, there is and it's as though I'm giving Arghya, one who created Amrita itself, which is Sudha, needs no Arghya in return, right? An Arghya is the small, so it's as though, just give me one moment. I think this was an internet glitch, so I may have lost. Were you guys able to hear me? Okay, okay. So someone else told me that I can't. Okay, let me just quickly repeat it. Pradeepa Jwala bhihi, with the flames of a tube light, or in those days you could say a small oil lamp. With such, if I were to do Nirajana to the sun itself, or if I were to do Arghya Pradana, if I were to give a couple of drops of water, uh, even if I were to use Chandra Upala, Upala is, we have seen this, is a opal gem. It's like a moonstone, it's called. Moonstone. It's also called opal, I think. Kumbhobhihi. To offer uh, Achamana and Abhisheka back to the very ocean. Salila Nidhi is the ocean. It's to start doing abhisheka to the ocean itself using its own waters. Swakiyaihi ambobhihi. Salila Nidhi Sauhitya Karanam, to do an abhisheka and to cool the waters of the ocean using the waters of the ocean, and as though I'm doing some great abhisheka or puja to the ocean. So that how stupid or how self-absorbed would that be? And so absorbed and so selfish and stupid would that be if I were to say that I am offering this stuti to you, O Janani, because it is your own words. All words are yours. Tvadiya bhihi vagbhihi. All words, all expressions, all thoughts are all yours, O Janani, O Mother, you who are the mother of everything. Here, the father of water is ocean. The father of Amrita is Chandra. The father of Agni and Prakasha is Surya. Whereas she, who is the mother of all, who is the Janani also of therefore my thoughts, emotions, and words and verbal words. How will I ever say with arrogance that I'm offering this stuti to you? So he's saying even this modesty to say that all of this is yours is not even right. And hence he falls silent after saying that all of what I ever have said so far is all yours already. So I am not going to appear foolish as though trying to do a nirajana to the sun, giving arghya to the moon, or to do abhisheka to the ocean itself. Is the analogy clear? Mm-hmm. Oh, I see, I see. What castle? What castle? Ah, okay. Hmm. Very, very true. Right. Hmm. Correct. Yeah, it's taking the coal to the new castle and saying, take, I mean, this is a gift to you. Of course, it all came from the new castle itself. So it's not really a gift or anything. Perfect. Anything else others would like to remark? Okay. If not, we can stop for the day and draw the curtains on the Kriti of Soundarya Lahari. You could tell me if you have any final closing thoughts for this particular series, Arya. Did you enjoy, what is the overall summary or what is your takeaway from this entire Kriti since you have been attending it as a pioneer from so far? Hmm. Great. Thank you. Dhanyawad. Yeah, I apologize for the impromptu announcements. It's since my schedule was is not. Hmm. Good, good. Yeah, I understand. Ah, keep it in mind. But what was your impression of the text? Did you like the text? What is your thoughts about it? Hmm. Hmm. Very true. And that is finally the objective of all this reading, right? With that, we must get these threads of wisdom which we can actually apply in our lives. So, and thank you for sharing a lot of such wisdom from actual lived experience from your own life. Thank you for sharing with us. Hmm. Hmm. Correct. Absolutely. You hit the nail with this one. Yes, the head. Astu, Dhanyavadah. Thank you for coming for all these many classes. We'll meet you in the next series soon. Dhanyavadah. Not decided yet. I'll message on the group, Ari. Astu, Dhanyavadah. Dhanyavadah.